Hey guys, welcome to my top 10 breakthrough cards that might be playable, might be viable, or at least the most viable, most playable, in my opinion, of course. If I don't mention one of your Pokemon that you think that will be awesome, I'm sorry, but these are my top 10 what I think will be at least playable. I'm not going to mention things like Skyla and things like Super Rod and things like Town Map because they've already been in the format. They've been in the expanded one at least, and so I am gonna look at this more of a standard point of view, from a standard play point of view, but they weren't really out of the meta or really weren't out of the format for too long. So I'm not gonna really mention Skyla, Super Rod, or Town Map, or like old cards. I'm just gonna mention newer cards or cards that have been out of the format for so long that they're practically new. So really quick, I'm just gonna do an honorable mentions in no particular order. Of course, Typhlosion deserves an honorable mention. I'm not going to click on him because I'll just tell you what he does. He's a 150 type, fire type Pokemon. He has a move called... Oh, now I got to click on him. I know what it does. Oh, here. I should have guessed it. Massive Eruption. There's a move called Massive Eruption. It's for one fire type, for one fire. Discard the top 5 cards of your deck. This attack does 80 more damage and has a number of energy you discarded. So it's really similar to another Pokemon named Heatmore who had an attack called Fury Licks. And he discarded the top 5 as well, except for the damage output was 50 for him. This one is 80. The only problem with this Pokemon is it's stage 2, which is kind of a bummer. Stage 2 Pokemon are not really played all too much unless you have an amazing ability or things like that. I can see a deck being played around Typhlosion though. If you can get the energy in the deck right and if you can get it to flow nicely, I don't see how this will be a bad deck. So I feel this will be a fun deck, or at least a nice, interesting idea deck. Secondary move is not that bad either. It's called Flare Destroy. Discard an energy attached to this Pokemon, and then discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. That's 130, so not too bad. You got things like Blacksmith, stuff like that, so it's not too bad actually. But the fact that it's stage 2, so that's probably why I wouldn't play it as much. Let's see what else we got. Honorable mentions to boot here. Let's see. Let's go down. Seeking. I'm not gonna click on him because I know his attack. It's called Wet Horn, and he's a 90 type, stage 1 water type Pokemon. And he has a move called Wet Horn, and it does 10. But if you just healed Seeking this turn, it does 80 more, so 90 for 1 energy. 1 water energy. Super awesome, super amazing, because with evolutions this might be a really fun deck to play with. Muscle Band does 110, knocking out electric, water, and fire type weak Pokemon. So it'd be really nice to at least run him, or at least try him out. As far as being played, I'm not sure. The whole hassle of killing him constantly might get in the way just a little bit. Another honorable mention, where is he at? Glalie is not an honorable mention. He kind of, I don't want to say sucks, but yeah, let's just go on. Let's go with Magnezone. No, right here. There he is. Vanillux. He's got a move. He's a 130 stage 2 water type Pokemon. He's got a neat move that does 30. I'll click on him just because I don't remember the move's name. Of course, Frigid Breath. It's really neat because people want to pair him with Vileplume. As far as it working, I don't really see it working, but hey, it could. But we got a move called Frigid Breath. Until the end of your turn, each player can't play a supporter or stadium cards from his or her hand. It's kind of a bummer because you also can't play it. So it would be better at least if your opponent can't play it. Like, I mean, that would be a better lock. But apparently they just have to knock down Vanillux for some reason, and so they made it to where each player can't play supporter or stadium cards. So they want to pair it with Vileplume because, of course, Vileplume blocks item cards. So you block supporters, stadiums, and items. So the only thing you're not blocking is tools. Like, I think tools are an item. You know, I don't know. The only thing you're not blocking is pretty much energy attachments, just energy attachments. But I mean, as far as people playing with the deck, I'm not sure. 2 stage 2s would be a problem. Of course, you can Archie's Vanillux, but still, it's gonna be kind of clunky. Raichu is kind of interesting. I'm gonna click on him because he's kind of interesting. I like it because his move is called Thunderclap Shot, which is an amazing name. Thunderclap Shot. That just rolls off the tongue. And Raichu looks pretty cool. It looks like it's Super Saiyan it up right here. Of course, it does 50 to each of your opponent's Pokemon EX. White Lens plus this would be pretty threatening to Shaymins and Mega Rays and Rayquazas. As far as it being playable, I don't know. It is stage 1, so it's easier to get out. Raichu Break, oh my god, I wanted it to be really good, but because of the way the breaks evolve, it's considered a stage 2 technically, and it might just, it's like a 130 stage 2, which is kind of a bummer, and it might be played. I'm interested in it, but I don't really see it. Raiku's pretty neat too. Is there anything else that's pretty interesting? Oh, here. Mega Mewtwo EX, the Psychic Fighting type Pokemon. It's honorable mention because personally I feel it's better than the other Mewtwo, but because of its energy cost, it kind of hinders it a bit, and by a bit I mean completely. And so what it is here is he has a move called Vanishing Strike. If there's a stating card in play, this attack does 50 more damage. If this move damage is not affected by resistance or any other effects of defending Pokemon. So Dark type Pokemon still get a 200 to the face. Yeah, Aegis Slash still gets 200 to the face. Giratina right to the face. So I mean, it's a really neat attack. I really like the name of the attack, and I really like the effect of the attack. The only problem I see with it, the only problem that anybody sees with it really, is of course its energy cost. It requires 1 psychic and 2 fighting, which is really weird for a psychic deck. Of course, I guess you can make it work if Mega Mewtwo is your sole attacker and he's your only attacker. The only thing that I would feel bad about is he doesn't really knock out Megas either. Doesn't really knock out Megas really. You can use Dimension Valley to make it a 3 energy attack cost. I really feel better if he was just a fighting type, considered a fighting type, because you can just strong energy, fighting state. I mean, it reaches unreachable numbers to knock. He can knock out Wailord practically if you have strong muscle stadia. I mean, I felt like he would be better as a fighting type Pokemon, but he's psychic, and there. I'll make a deck with him because I actually enjoy this Mewtwo. I prefer the Y better, but as far as attack wise, I like the Mew. I like this Mewtwo EX better, and I'm pretty sure if you make the deck for him, it'll work solidly, at least solidly. Let's see what else. Miss Magius, I love because she has an ability called, well, I know it's chanting, but let's see. Twisted Incantation. Oh, that's right, you can't see her picture for some reason. I really like her ability because, of course, I really like when I just get to disrupt my Pokemon, my opponent's hand, because I really don't like them when they're like have a nice hand, and I know they have a nice hand. I just want to get rid of that, so at least I can do things, especially since I run stage 2s a lot. It's got Twisted Incantation. When you play this Pokemon to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may have your opponent shuffle his or her hand and then draw into draw for the number of remaining prize cards they have. So it's almost an end, but you don't shuffle, and you have to evolve. So that's the only reason why I see it won't be played. It will be played in certain decks, but it's not really splashable in every deck. But oh well. I want to take a little special note for you guys to notice Boba Fett's artwork. It is amazing. It is simply amazing. He's taking a beam, and that's anime right there. That is anime stuff. Okay, so we'll keep going on. Nothing too important, nothing amazing. I just want to mention, guys, real quick, this is the saddest picture I've ever seen when it comes to Pokemon. If you don't, I'm gonna click on it just so you guys can see it. It's Cubone hugging his bone, and he's so sad, and it has this mom and her child, and they're hugging and they're having a good time, and it's really just sad. And I don't know why they did that. That's horrible. Cubone is just there because he's, of course, a lonely Pokemon. Another one mentioned is the Magnezone deck. It's gonna be a deck. I know it is. Someone's gonna make it. Let's see what else. What more honorable mentions do we have? Mr. Mime. Of course, Mr. Mime's honorable mention has the same ability as the previous Mr. Mime from, I want to say Plasma Freeze or Plasma Blast was the last one. Plasma Storm, one of those two. I can't remember exact one it's called, but I think it's Plasma Freeze or Plasma Storm. Florges Break, amazing ability. Stage 3, practically unworthy. Haxorus, pretty neat attack, but I mean, a Lysander gets rid of that. Doduo, pretty interesting, but it takes up bench space, especially with Shaman already taking up that bench space. I really don't see Doduo being played all too much. Where is my last mention, if I have one? No, that's about it. So we'll go and get to the top 10. You're also pretty neat too. We're going. There's a lot of Pokemon pretty neat in here, but I just can't mention. I have to mention the top 10. So of course, might as well get started with the top 10 because I've already been dragging this on too long. Number 10, Magnezone. The reason why he's number 10 is because his ability, Magnetic Circuit. As often as you like, during your turn, you may attach a Lightning Energy card from your hand to one of your Pokemon. So essentially, it is Blastoise or Emboar, but Lightning type. Also, Flash Energy does not work with this. Obviously, it has to be basic Lightning Energy. I'm not sure why they worded it like this, because Flash Energy does not count as Lightning Energy until you play it onto your Pokemon. Either way, he's a stage 2, which is the only hindrance he really has. The ability is great, however, I don't really see much Electric type Pokemon or Lightning type Pokemon that would be really take advantage of it. They did make Raikou, who kind of is Keldeo, but as a basic, but I don't know how viable this deck would be. But Magnezone, neat card, number 10. So number 9, Mega Houndoom EX. I really wanted this card to be so much better. I just wanted it to do 300 for 1 energy because Mega Houndoom is one of my favorite Pokemon. I really love him, or the dog. I really love it. But Mega Houndoom EX, 210 fire type Pokemon. It's not the bulkiest, but of course he's not bulky in his VGC format either way. But he got a move called Infernal Fang. It's really close to Infernal Fandango, but either way, you may discard all fire energy attached to this Pokemon, so 2. And if you do, the attack does 80 more damage. So he caps out at 160, which is a really bummer. I really wish it went to like 180 or at least 170, just to knock out some EXs. But he caps out at 160. Of course, you can do things to help raise up the bar, raise up the attack damage, but sometimes you don't really have those in your hand, so 160 will do it. But 160 is a pretty solid number of damage, I would have to say. The only thing I would do have to gripe about is his retreat cost is 1, but it would be pretty cool if he had a free retreat cost, so he can kind of work the same way as Mega Manectric does. But oh well, I really like this card. I'm gonna use it a lot. I'm thinking about pairing him with Crobat or the Batline, or maybe Fortress, just to help keep up, just to help him reach higher numbers. But yeah, so number 9, Mega Houndoom EX. Number 8, Giovanni's Scheme. The reason why I chose number 8 as Giovanni's Scheme is because it's pretty interesting. It's gonna probably affect how Pokemon Standard Release plays as far as a 1-up card. Giovanni's Scheme seems like a 1-up type card, where you just play it and you discard it, but when you need to do the extra 20 damage, you versus Seeker for it and get it. Only bad part is the supporter, so it does waste your supporter for the turn, but it might be what makes you win the game. So choose one. Just draw cards until you have 5 of your cards in your hand, so not the most amazing draw power, but the second one is pretty neat. It's during this turn, your Pokemon's attack does 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. Now that's pretty good, because 20 damage is always needed. You can always opt to do 20 more. Like say for instance you do 130, well, why not do 150? I mean, you could just opt to do a little more if the Pokemon can do it. So Mega Houndoom does 160, right? Well, with Giovanni's plan, he is able to do 180, which knocks out a lot of EXs. The only one that doesn't knock out is Tyrantrum, and does knock out Megas, but EXs are kind of the most played cards since they're set up really easy. So I think it's pretty neat. As far as it be playing, I'm not sure. I for sure see it as a 1-up card, as like maybe certain decks that needed to higher the damage output. This will be a nice little tech-in card. So number 8. Number 7, Parallel City. The reason why I put this, I wasn't gonna put this originally, but because of the way it works, I kind of feel like I want to see how people play with this. It's Parallel City. It is the first stadium so far in the format that does this, where you choose which way the card faces, and each way the faces has a different effect. The first side, or the blue side, the player facing this side can only have 3 bench Pokemon. So obviously it's a really good counter to Mega Rays, Mega Rays and other Pokemon that require bench to attack. Also limits the bench space, so your opponent can't really play Shamans like they can, or like they really have to work around it. They have to work on what is actually benchable. So I really like the blue side effect. The red side effect is to limit grass, fire, and water type Pokemon to damage output. Any damage done by your player, the opponent's grass, fire, and water type Pokemon, this Pokemon is reduced 20 damage. So not the strongest effect, but it would hinder fire type Pokemon, would also hinder grass and water type Pokemon. So Mega Houndoom, we'll use him as an example, does 160, right? Well, if the stadium faces you, he does 140 now. So it does really make a difference. Even with Giovanni's scheme, it makes it to 160 back again, which we wasted a supporter for that. So yeah, I mean, Parallel City, I want to see how people play it. It is an interesting card. The only reason why it's not higher is because, of course, decks that already have their stadiums in the decks, of course, will keep the stadium because that's the stadium that works best for them. Parallel City kind of fits more of into a deck that has no stadium already. This would just help certain decks. It just helps certain decks. So I'm not gonna say it's not one of the strongest cards. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see how it plays though. Number 5, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, number 5, Judge, which I really like because Judge is a needed supporter, especially in standard and expanded. Not really because you got N, but Judge in standard is very important because there's no way technically to affect your opponent's hand. Yes, I know there's red card, but I played in the Silent Toad area where Silent Toad was so strong. He was pretty much in every deck, and I want to say brainwashed me to never play item cards like red card again. But Judge is really needed because Judge, if each player shuffles his or her hand and they draw 4 cards. So they draw 4, so a pretty big hand, not a decent sized hand either way. It's just like red card, but you shuffle your hand as well. Also, I know A-Train is a thing, but A-Train requires you to have a condition first, and that condition is to be losing, essentially. So Judge does not require the condition. So if you open up a Judge, you can at least play it, and unlike A-Train where you can't play it. So yeah, I really like Judge. It's gonna. I just don't like having my opponent set up really like they have all the cards they have in their hand and you just want to mess up their hand, but you really can't. So I don't know, I feel this kind of disruption is much needed in standard. I want to see it played. It won't be a 4-of card, of course, because it's not as strong as N, but being like a 2-of would not be that bad. It's just a good disruption card, and I really feel it's much needed in standard. Number 4, right? 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3. Alright, number 4. I always keep getting mixed up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, 4. Alright, 10, 9, 8. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Oh, Judge was 6. I'm sorry. I skipped 7, I think. Either way, number Glalie is 5. Glalie EX is 5. I completely messed up how this works, but hopefully you guys don't shoot me for it. Number 5, Glalie EX, 170 type, water type Pokemon. Nice artwork. He's probably the strongest EX in the set. Ice Breath, not amazing. It's 1 water, does flip a coin if heads. Defending Pokemon is not paralyzed. Not amazing, but I mean, it's okay. The second move is what we're going to be looking at. It's really nice energy cost. It's workable, unlike Kyurem EX's where it has 2, 3, and 1 for some odd reason. This one is a water energy and double color, so easily reachable. Instant freeze. If you have the same number of cards in your hand as your opponent, this type does 100 more. So it's 50 base, but if you have the same number of cards, hey, Judge, nice. So does 150, Muscle Band 170. And you want to, Glalie EX will be the main attack of the deck, and of course you would run cards that make you either have the same number of cards or shuffle and draw the same number of cards. So of course Judge works, Battle Reporter works. What's another card? Playing your hand size down to their hand size works. I mean, just a bunch of cards to make instant freeze work. It does 170, so it's a pretty good number. And of course, with Giovanni's game, does 190. So, I mean, I guess you can't play Judge at the same time. But either way, I think this would be probably one of the stronger EXs of the set. I think he's the best one. I can't remember the other EXs, but he's pretty good. He'll probably have his own deck. That's how decent he is. His Mega though, oh my god, his Mega is blah. I'll tell you about the Mega though. His Mega is I think a 230, 240 240. I don't know. He has a high HP, I believe. But his attack is the same as Instant Freeze. I think it's called Cryo Mouth or Cryo Freeze. But that one requires you to have about. It's stated as if you have 10 or more damage counters. People think that's 10 damage. No, that means 100 damage. You have to have 100 damage on this Pokemon or more, and it knocks out pretty much everything except for Wailord with a hard charm. I mean, but who's gonna have that? But yeah, so it does 250, but it has a ridiculous requirement. It's good for a revenge killer, but that's about it. It's gonna be really hard to make your deck work, especially when you spend all that time to Mega Evolve him and such. But yeah, so he has to have 100 damage on him to even do the attack, which is kind of a bummer. He's not terrible, but it's gonna be kind of hard to work with him. I guess Mega Evolving and then using Instant Freeze with China Memories might work, and then if he gets damaged too hard, then you can use Cryo Freeze. But I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how this works. Glalie EX, a really strong EX. Mega Glalie, I don't know. It's still to be debated. So number 4. Mewtwo EX, Mega Mewtwo, the psychic type. The reason why is because, of course, he's just like Evolto EX or Lugia EX or Mewtwo EX, but he's the Mega version of it. So he's got a little more health than they do. He's weak to psychic type Pokemon, and he's got a move called Psychic Affinity. This attack does 30 more damage, has a number of energy attached to both active Pokemon. This attack damage is not affected by weakness. So, the reason why I placed it here is because once you get a good amount of energy going on this Pokemon and your opponent's Pokemon, then you really start doing a lot of damage, especially if you can limit their damage output. It does 30 more, so if your opponent has, for some reason, 4 energies on their Pokemon, it does 120 just on their energy alone, plus your energy. So it can reach high numbers very quickly, and it doesn't really require any specific energy, so you can kind of splash him in whatever deck that requires a heavy attacker. He's weak to psychic, but his own attack is not affected by weakness. So there used to be a thing called Mewtwo Wars back in the day, where people only had Mewtwo EXs to fight out other Mewtwo EXs. That won't really work in this case because his own attack is not affected by weakness. So yeah, there's that. I don't know. I feel like the other Mewtwo is just a tad bit better, but because of his energy costs, that's why he really can't fight the other Mewtwo either. Of course, it does 120 plus his own damage to it, but it does 200 to him, and it'd be pretty cool to see how this Mewtwo fights the other Mewtwo, Mega Mewtwo. But yeah, he's number 4. I would put him around the 4th list. I feel like Glalie and him might have showdowns pretty soon. So number 3, this guy, Octillery, stage 1, but he has a really neat ability, and the ability has a really neat name, Abyss Hand, which I love the name. I love the word abyss. Oh, it's abyssal, abyssal hand. I really like the name Abyss, like the abyss. Is one of my favorite things is saying, if you stare long enough into the abyss stares long enough back at you. It's an old quote from, I believe, a movie, but I don't know. I just like the word abyss. Anyways, once during your turn before you attack, you may draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. So same thing as Giovanni's scheme, but it's not support. It's not a supporter. It's an ability. So you can play it on your hand. So you have 1, and then boom, Abyss Hand it to 5. And I think he's really neat. You probably see him in a lot of decks. Just because draw power is always much needed. He does cost a bench space, but having the ability to draw until you have 5, it's 1 card shy from Delphox, and Delphox is stage 2, so this is be a little more played. Plus, you can Archie's him, and that'll be nice. He's an interesting card, at least. I want to say he might be not a well played card, but you would see him in quite a bit of different decks decks that need it. So I think he'd be a nice fit. Number 2, oh my god, you didn't see this coming at all, did you guys? Zoroark. The reason why Zoroark is amazing because his ability, high stand-in. They should have just really called it rushed in, because that's what it is. He's a 100 type, dark type Pokemon. Zoroark has a really cool stance here. I really wish they had N in the background just for reasons. Either way, ability stand-in. Once during your turn before you attack, if this Pokemon is on your bench, you may switch this Pokemon with your active Pokemon. So essentially Russian. The only difference is he also has the same retreat cost as Keldeo, which is kind of funny because Zoroark's at least like a decently fast type Pokemon. So of course with Floatstone, he's a Russian retreat kind of Pokemon, or I guess stand-in retreat kind of Pokemon. But Zoroark would be pretty nice to have in decks because he is able to rush in or stand in. But the number 1 Pokemon, if you cannot already guess it by the way number 2's here, is Zoroark Break. Probably the only really playable Break Pokemon in the set. Sure, Raichu is great, but Zoroark Break has just a little more health, and I don't know. I kind of feel Raichu Break and Zoroark Break are on the same level, but Zoroark Break has more options to really grow. It does work on a weird mechanic, but I feel like Raichu Break and Zoroark Break on the same level, but people really like Zoroark Break, and the reason why is because of Zoroark's ability stand-in, because the breaks contain the same attack, same ability, and same weakness and resistance and retreat cost of the previous evolution. So even if you break on the bench, you still have the ability stand-in, so it's kind of neat. That being said, Raichu Break also has that next attack called Thunderclap Shot. Thunderclap Shot, boom! Either way, Zoroark Break has a neat move for 1 energy called Foul Play. Choose one of defending Pokemon's attacks and use it as its attack. Of course, this will be really good against Pokemon that have a high damage attack, but really steep requirements. So, say for instance, you can copy Dragon Rayquaza, Mega Rayquaza's Emerald Break, I think it was called. Or Dragon Ascent, I'm thinking Dragon Ascent. You can copy that. You of course discard. I think it's discard a fire and electric, which you don't have. So you don't. You already do the attack first, and then you meet the requirements to it. So that's why Foul Play is kind of a neat kind of card. You do the attack first, then you meet the requirements. So, say for instance you're fighting Mega Rayquaza deck, the Colors type. You can do the Emerald Break attack for 1 energy, which is really neat. Say for instance you're fighting against Mewtwo EX over here. You can do Psychic Affinity for 1 energy. Say for instance you're fighting even Raichu Break. You can use I don't know, a Grand Bolt. It's called Grand Bolt. You can use Grand Bolt for 170 for 1 energy. That's why people like Zoroark Break and Foul Play, because of his previous evolution. He's pretty bulky for Zoroark. He's worth it to even evolve him. That's the whole point. Like this Foul Play, it really depends on your opponent, of course, but usually decks do the most damage kind of decks. So Zoroark Break is number 1. That being said, I kind of feel like Raichu and him will be kind of a cool matchup. But yeah, so there you go. That's my top 10. Just to recount, Zoroark and Zoroark Break are number 1 and 2. So yeah, that is it. He also has, let me see, is there anything else I missed? That's about it, I think so. As far as trainer cards, of course, Super Rod and Skyla and Professor Letter, I guess. They're all gonna be neat cards. But yeah, so that's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, please leave a like. Yes, Gengar is awesome too. I'm gonna make it the Gengar deck as well. There's a lot of neat cards in here. It's hard to choose. But yeah, so there you go. Have a great day, guys.